Ben Crump has been retained by the family
Right.
and is conducting an independent investigation. So much so, because this happened in Mississippi.
Yeah.
There are some racial undertones to this. He was the only black kid on an island full of kids that were white. And his family is saying that he would have never, on the boat rather, and his family is saying that he would have just never stayed on the island and been left behind by his friends. There were 3 boys with him that were good friends with him.
What are they saying?
And they turned off their social media accounts. They say that they have cooperated with the police, but they kept his phone and didn't give it to his parents. And those kids said that they didn't have his phone at first, and because his mother tracked the phone through her Life 360 app, they then turned it over to someone else's, to one of her friends.
Yeah.
So if you come back with someone else's phone and you know that they're missing, why would you not call the parents immediately? Kudos to Colin Kaepernick, because Colin Kaepernick has paid for the independent autopsy, flying the body from Mississippi to Washington, D.C. so that it can be independent. And Tyler Perry is paying for his funeral.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of 5 Minutes with Mike. I'm your host, Michael Beckford. And yeah, as you guys saw in the video, listen, we bring you the news that's rocked the nation. It was slow, progressively, to get to the news outlets, but here we are. You know, we have individuals like Don Lemon and other black journalists that's been pushing the needle with getting this story out. And, you know, unless you've been living on a rock, you should know Nolan Wells' name. You should know his name, know what happened. Also, I want to talk about Jerard Jackson, a situation that's kind of similar to the Nolan Wells story. And there's not a clue as in what really went down. So we'll get to it all in a moment. This is 5 Minutes with Mike. Our news, our voice, our issues. Believe that. All right, guys. Yeah, man. I mean, listen. Here we have 18-year-old classic, 18-year-old star athlete Nolan Wells, found, according to police, drowned in, off this island in the state of Mississippi called the Horn Island, essentially. And the key parts of this is the fact that, he went out with, other friends. They were all white friends. I believe about 3 to 4 white friends that was out there with him on a boat. They were hanging out July 4th weekend. So this is still fresh on everybody's minds, fresh on everybody's heart as America just turned 250. And, he went out with his friends and he didn't return. Now, his friends returned with a cell phone, but according to the latest reports, they didn't just willingly turn over that phone to Nolan Wells' parents, right? It wasn't for the fact that the mother, Nolan Wells' mother, actually pinged the phone, did some sort of Life 360 tracking on it, that basically found that one of the friends had the phone. And so she had to demand the phone from the particular friend. And this right here alone kind of, at least in my mind, obviously all of this stuff is speculative. The police are still on investigation. No one has been arrested, but just in case you haven't heard the backdrop of these people, these individuals got money. Between one person has a judge for, a mother or stepmother, whatever you want to call it. These people lawyered up. All these, these boys lawyered up because, apparently they wanted any smoke. But not only did they lawyer up, for friends that didn't do anything, right, quote unquote, each one of them deleted all their social media. Like, they acted in collusion with each other to make sure that if there is some sort of signs of foul play, that is going to be very hard to find it. Now, the fair fact that, once again, that they had Nolan Wells' phone. Now, everybody know what 18-year-old, 17-year-old, what any, young individual leaves without having their phone with them, right? Now, I get it if you're in the water, you know what I'm saying? You probably want to, put your phone to the side. I've done that before. I get that scenario with it, but then why would the friends have his phone and then refuse to give it back to his parents until they realized that, they had the phone? One thing. Another thing is, according to research. Not only did the friends have the phone, but also the
This
friends.
episode of
Well,
5 Minutes with Mike is brought to you by the upcoming children's book Mila Don't Do That by Michael D. Beckford and Mila D. Beckford. You turned on the stove without my permission. Mila, don't do that. You knocked over the toys and now you made a mess. Mila, don't do that.
Mila, Don't Do That is now available for pre-order. Link in the description below. The parents said that there were Snapchats that was deleted. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then also text messages that was deleted. Pretty damn shady, if you would, you know? So nobody's saying anybody's guilty, but I do know one thing. If this role was reversed, and I hate having to always do this, but this is America. We live in an apartheid system of justice here in America. Hands down. Everybody can cry, baby, cry, but this is an apartheid system of justice. We had to do this with Carmelo Anthony case. We had to do this with the Cyrus Belton situation that happened, and now we have to do it with Nolan Wells. If the roles were reversed, and you guys all saw the picture when Nolan was the only black kid with these, all white T males with him, quote unquote friends. If the roles reversed, that Nolan Wells was a white boy and the other guys were black, right? If the roles reversed, we already know that those black boys are probably either be in jail right now or at least have gotten some sort of indictment already. Okay, period. The state of Mississippi, which this happened in, right, which has its own level of scrutiny when it comes down to the racist justice, anti-justice system in the state of Mississippi, would have been all over it when it comes down to arresting the role reversal of the black males went out on this island, and one of them got his phone, and you know what I'm saying, they're all mute, don't know what happened. Okay, like, tell me where you do that at. You go out with your friends, bro. You come back with your friends. That's G code. Like, everybody know that you don't, you know what I'm saying? I don't care. Like, we gonna account for you. And even if there was some sort of drowning, bruh, I'm not going, or saying, I noticed that my homeboy went out in the water and didn't come back. I'm not leaving that damn island till I find the resources to make sure we can, figure out where the hell he's at, right? And according to the reports, the Coast Guard was contacted. Or not I don't know. This story is a bit fishy. It's definitely a bit fishy when it comes down to this Nolan Wells situation. But praise God, the Nolan Wells family also got lured up. They got Ben Crump, who is a national voice, a national person that can kind of get the needle moving when it comes down to the media. And they also got my boy Colin Kaepernick, that paid for Nolan Wells to move that body from the state of Mississippi and do an independent autopsy in Washington, D.C. Also, Tyler Perry, sadly, let's say sadly, not the fact that with Tyler Perry, but sadly, the parents have to deal with burying their son. Tyler Perry volunteered to pay for the funeral arrangements. And then, of course, there's a GoFundMe for the family so you guys can support. Make sure you find the right one, because there's always, different scams when it comes down to these type of things and tragedies. So make sure you find the right one that you can support, because they're going to need it, whether it's the, legal defense of this situation. They're definitely going to need your support, protection, security, whatever it takes when it comes down to this family. Now, before I continue with Nolan Wells, I want to talk a little bit about Jerard J. Jackson. Okay, this also happened around, a couple weeks ago. Jerard Jackson was a 28-year-old that he went out with some friends. According to the pictures, it looked like it was also all white tee friends. Don't quote me on that, but I'm gonna read a little bit of excerpt from Atlanta Black Star, in regards to this. New details of this. This was published July 11th. 2026. New details are coming to light as friends of Jerard J. Jackson and Michigan State Police opened up about what happened to the 28-year-old. Jackson was found dead, unalived on June 30th. The coroner told his family he was found hanging from a tree in the woods. Guys, this has been something that's been a reoccurrence lately with black folks. And we all know the history what happened with black folks and they come down to trees. Like, ain't that many black folks just all of a sudden unaliving themselves, self-unaliving themselves. Something ain't in the water ain't right. You know what I'm saying? And, I personally as a black male feel like we're under attack, essentially. But I shall continue with this article. He was in a Roxbury, Michigan for Electric Forest, a popular summer music festival. Michigan State Police said Jackson left the festival at 10 a.m. Troopers had been out there earlier that morning after Jackson reported an alleged criminal incident involving a friend. So, anyway, investigators spoke with Atlanta Black Star and clarified that no crime was committed. An officer said he called the cops on himself because Jackson believed he had committed a crime. His friends and investigators all reassured him that he did not. Our reporter asked the investigator how he knew it was unaliving. And the investigator said it looked like that, so that's why I said it appeared to be an unaliving situation. Absolutely nothing. Suspicions grow in Nolan Wells. Okay. The investigator highlighted that the cause of death is still under investigation. Okay. Now here's a tweet from the Michigan State Police. Just basically says the Michigan State Police providing an update regarding investigation involving Jerard Jackson, 28 male from Illinois. Jackson was last seen at approximately 10 a.m. Eastern Time on Monday after leaving the Electric Forest Festival in Roxbury. Jackson's friend, Connor Prettyman, posted in the music festival group chat that morning asking if anyone had seen Jackson. Prettyman wrote in a post that he was concerned about his friend because he was having a mental health crisis. Quoting to him, he seemed very down on himself and had distanced himself from the rest of the group in a rental truck. Prettyman told Atlanta Black Star we each took turns having conversations with him in order to cheer him up. LaTanya Neal, Jackson's aunt, accused Prettyman of changing the information in his initial Facebook post. When Connor was putting those types of things in his post and saying he had a mental crisis, that he was reporting crimes, Neal said, well, what crime was he reporting that didn't happen? And why don't you just say we were getting high? Jackson's group of friends was known to be into serious drugs, Neal claims. Another quote, that's why we didn't want him to go, Sean Phillips, Jackson's stepfather, said. And I'm not reading this whole thing, but here we go. Last thing I'm going to read. Quote unquote, out of respect for Jerard, I had removed a few details in original posts I had made that weren't relevant to the search. Prettyman said, I was the only person who was asleep when he drove off. Neal also accused Prettyman of covering up the fact that he and her nephew were doing drugs. Listen, guys, it's okay to have a sad day. I've had depression. I've had times of depression in my life. You know what I'm saying? As a grown-ass adult, it happens. We got depressed. People, you're at a festival there. I mean, I worked a festival before, and believe me, there's drug cocktails like never before. You know what I'm saying? All around. These are known things. But what's not a known thing is what the hell happened to Jerard. Okay? Like what really happened? Why did his body just is found in the woods and him, postured under a tree? And why, like there's something that's, like I said, not right. No matter how many drugs or how often you may feel depressed, it don't naturally just lead you into wanting to unalive yourself. All right. So to try to frame it that way, that it was this mental health crisis that may have moved him into unaliving himself from the hanging of a tree, dude, I'm not buying it. I am not buying it in this 2026 year of our Lord. No, I am not buying it. And so to the family of Jerard, I pray that you guys get the answers. Unfortunately, what happens with situations like this, with the Nolan Wells case, is bigger than big right now. So it's not Jerard Jackson's situation and some others that recently have been very suspicious unaliving. They're not getting the type of media, backing and support as the Nolan Wells situation is. So I wanted to make sure that when I spoke about Nolan Wells, in regards to his case, which obviously deserves the full extent of a proper investigation, I wanted to make sure that I talk about this young man as well, because Black lives matter. All Black lives matter. And it's unfortunate that we have to go through a media blitz in order for, to even try to move the needles of justice for our people. So anyway, that's, we don't know. The title of this of this episode is WTF happened to Nolan Wells. Well, we still don't know. We don't know what happened to Nolan Wells. We don't know what happened to Jerard Jackson. Those investigations remain open. Now, the suspect thing, though, once again, with this, the officers in Mississippi with the Nolan Wells case, like within a day or so, they was like, "Oh no, case is closed. It's just a simple drowning. There's nothing to see here." And that's the same thing we're finding when it comes down to these young black people, young youthful black people, unaliving them, quote unquote, unaliving themselves under the trees. You know what I'm saying? Just hanging off a tree, right? They're saying, "Oh, it was just unalive and case closed." No, bro. If this was somebody of a different race, you would do a thorough investigation. And so that's all we're asking for Nolan Wells. That's all we're asking for Jerard Jackson, and also others that aren't getting the benefit of this type of media blitz and or treatment that Nolan Wells has been getting. So guys, please sound off in the comments. Let me know what you think. What do you feel? Do you think the friends are guilty? Do you think it's too early still to tell? Do you think somebody but should be in jail right now? Sound off in the comments, like, hype this video, and subscribe. Thank you. Have a blessed day. This presentation of 5 Minutes with Mike is brought to you by the groundbreaking book HOMEBOYS by Michael D. Beckford. See what other individuals have to say about this book. Then grab your copy today wherever books are sold.